Hello everyone, it's your favorite Switching Out in Space here, and like it or not, Hazbin Hotel has been everywhere on YouTube because, it's making a whole lot of splashes, it was started as a very popular pilot, etc, etc, and for the most part, I genuinely don't care about that much. It's just there, I don't really care to talk about much. However, something that did pique my interest is some of the controversy surrounding it, specifically one particular thing. Mostly people saying that Alistair's voodoo symbols were misappropriating the religion and all that jazz, and it was offensive and all that, and listen, I'm not here to weigh in that I do not have a well enough opinion on the religion of voodoo to even begin to be able to speak honestly about that. However, it did get me thinking about one thing, is that people cared a whole lot that it misrepresented voodoo there, but no one seems to care about the fact of how much Hazbin Hotel completely bastardizes Christianity in such major and blatant ways, to the point that complaining about Alistair in the show about that is like comparing a candle fire when your entire house is on fire. That's the level of difference we're operating at here. So, granted, I'm no professional theologian, but I thought I'd give my overall view of different things in Hazbin Hotel that so blatantly break Christianity, or misrepresent it, or just straight up lie about it, that it just needs to be kind of said. And as a note, I am speaking in broad generalities, avoiding specifics or things that could be left up to interpretation, and trying to stay within what the three major denominations of Christianity would all agree on about things. So this isn't like even though I'm Protestant, I'm not giving an exclusively Protestant view on these things. I'm trying to be broad to what all Christians believe, because that's what we're going out here. Anyway, we're good, let's begin. The first thing that kind of comes to mind is the more or less lack of God / the Holy Trinity in Hazbin Hotel. Now, from what I understand, there is some hints that he could exist, or some character designs they thought up, but even so, even if he does exist and just extremely in the background or something, he is pretty prominent in Christianity. I don't know if you heard of him, kind of a big deal. And he should have probably have shown up, or at least gotten a more strong mention of actually existing and playing a part in things, especially during the creation of the world, which he was very much present for and had a very big part of it in Christianity, in case you forgot how Genesis happened. And that immediately goes to the next thing, which is Lucifer, which honestly they did a lot to his character. I mean, listen, there's a lot of different views on Satan / Lucifer in Christianity that could probably be a whole video series just dissecting and discussing it. But none of them were even close to the Lucifer we see in the show. First things first, he was not even ever particularly hated in Christian canon before he fell. He was actually known to be one of the better angels, or at least the most powerful. Very high ranking inside, not a reject. In fact, that's how he convinced 1/3 of heaven to fall with him during the rebellion, which is pretty notable, as in Hazbin Hotel, he seems to be the only angel that went to hell, from my understanding, or at least the only main one, when once again, in Christianity, a lot of them fell. A lot of them. It was a whole war for a reason. Now, granted, details are kind of vague. It's worth mentioning that Paradise Lost is not canon, just in case you try to use details from that. And that's another thing, though, is that Lucifer was not some dreamer who just wanted to do things his own way. He was evil, or is evil, more accurately. That's kind of his thing. He is the ruler / trapped, maybe someone, it's hard to tell, in hell. He tries to tempt humans off the good path and to do evil things. That is his whole thing. He is not some sad puppy who likes to play with duckies. He's evil. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't have had complexity to him in the show, especially around his daughter, but once again, he is evil. Not some funny showman clown who likes duckies. He is evil. That is kind of a very big part of an entire freaking character in Christianity that is just completely left on the cutting room floor / discarded for whatever reason. Next thing up is, of course, Lilith being the wife of Adam, or the first wife, technically. Now, some people say, oh, but it is an ancient thing that is actually to come from the legends, and you are right. It is a real thing. In Judaism, not in Christianity. In Judaism, Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and then Eve was made later. In Christianity, Lilith is just not the first wife of Adam. Her actual presence is pretty minuscule and somewhat undefined, but she wasn't Adam's first wife. Or, actually, the only wife of Adam was Eve in Christianity. That's just a straight-up thing. Now, I don't blame her too much for going with this, as they had an idea of what they wanted to do. But I do blame people who then say that it's part of Christianity when it's not part of Christian doctrine. None of the major denominations believe Lilith was the first wife of Adam. That is just not a thing. Next thing that immediately comes to mind, at least to me, is how heaven and hell are depicted. Now, granted, in the actual Christian canon, how heaven and hell are kind of undefined to a certain degree. There's a lot of ambiguity, so I won't really criticize the show for stuff we don't have a solid grasp on Christianity. However, there is one thing that does immediately strike out, is dying in hell. That's just not a thing. In Christianity, hell is a place of eternal torment. There is no escape from it because you died. That's just not a thing. If you can die in hell, which I, once again, don't know if that's true, you'd probably just respawn a little bit later, assuming you, once again, can die. Now, and this is just a baffling point, and it kind of bleeds into the fact that hell doesn't really feel like hell in Hazbin Hotel. It's granted, it's not a nice place to live, but it feels closer to Detroit or California than, Satan's domain of pure evil. And once again, like, if you want a better example of what hell should be like, look up Wraith the Oblivion's Underworld. That isn't trying to be hell, mind you, but man, does that feel a lot more depressing than anything Hazbin Hotel has ever been managed to do. A lot more mature in many ways, too. Next up is Adam, which is kind of interesting, as some people have criticized the show, saying, oh, well, Adam didn't go to heaven in Christianity. And that's actually a slightly complex topic, as the Bible never technically states what happens to Adam and Eve in the afterlife, though it does allude to them going to heaven. And pretty much all the Christian denominations have accepted that they do go to heaven. So, once again, this isn't actually a criticism directly, it's just kind of an interesting factoid. However, this is where I just bleed into a way more complicated or such annoying fact, is that why is Adam an angel? Or St. Peter? Or why do the people in heaven seem to be angels? Because that's the thing, right? Is that in Christianity, despite common misconceptions, you don't become angels in Christianity when you die. That's just not a thing that happens. The only brief instance in Christianity, what may be considered pseudo-Christianity, is I believe in the third book of Enoch. Enoch himself becomes the angel Metatron. However, those 3 books are not considered part of Christian canon, except by, I think, the Coptics. Like, by major denominations, those books are not considered canon, though maybe they have some truth to them, but it isn't, like, part of the Bible. And that was a one-time thing that does not seem to be standard in any way, shape, or form. Enoch was a very special individual in many ways. So everyone seeming to be angels, or at least St. Peter and Adam, makes no sense. Especially because people in the past in the Bible seem to be way more powerful than people today. So it would have been way more cool if instead of Adam having generic angel powers, he was just stupidly strong by being the first man to ever live. That would have been way more cool. Of course, none of this will save Hazbin Hotel Adam from getting absolutely wrecked by Records of Ragnarok Adam, who is way more cool than pretty much anyone in this show. Just facts. Now, for some quick addendums about this conversation in general, is one people say, do you think they shouldn't have been able to make this? No, it's a free country. You can insult or make fun of whatever you want, or misrepresent in a piece of media. It doesn't really matter. It's not important, like, in the sense that, oh, it's against the law or something. People can be free to do whatever they want, but I'm also free to criticize it when it doesn't line up. Another thing is, does these inconsistencies make it a bad story? Well, no, not by itself. For example, Records of Ragnarok gets tons of stuff wrong about the religions it uses, but it's also a good story regardless of that. Now, as for why it's wrong for Hazbin Hotel to misrepresent the Voodoo religion, but as to not Christianity, that I've heard some people say is that, oh, well, it's punching up to Christianity. And no, the whole punching up argument about it is stupid because A, it doesn't actually address anything, and B, it's just the whole reason that people make... the entire argument of punching up in most cases, no matter the context, is people wanting a reason to criticize something but be immune to criticism for themselves. It doesn't really matter the context. I refuse to engage in that stupid line of reasoning for this. Now, as to something I've heard people say is that, oh, well, Hazbin Hotel is the criticism of Christianity. And, well, you can have criticism of Christianity. That's, once again, fine. It's a free country. Do what you want. However, when you blatantly misrepresent something like this, it cannot work as a criticism. It would be like I could take anything else and misrepresent it horribly, but it doesn't prove a point because I just made up a straw man, essentially, that doesn't actually believe or say what the thing I'm criticizing is. So it's not actually a fair criticism either. It's just too inconsistent to even work as one. And also, that's not even really the point of Hazbin Hotel if you look at the story anyway. So overall, that's just my thoughts on this whole issue or controversy, or however you want to call that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Comment, like, subscribe, dislike, and, say what you liked and did and all that jazz. And I hope to see you all next time. Yeah. Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're going to become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.